The human mind is believed to be using around 72,000 thoughts a day. Probably it's a crazy number, but that's what research is proving right now. So, in the sense, 72,000 thoughts a day is like very high, in the sense, which means probably we are constantly thinking, because I don't think in one day do we have 72,000 seconds. I'm not sure, you do the math. So which looks like the mind is constantly producing thoughts incessantly, no stopping. We're constantly thinking, and sometimes we can even contemplate as to, is it what makes us human, in the sense, if we do not think, are we still human? Okay, is it human nature to think? Because see, we may not need food to survive. For a few days we can survive, for a few seconds we can survive without air, without taking a breath in, or hold your breath for a few seconds, you can still survive. The question is, can you survive if you hold your thought? If you stop thinking, do you survive at all? Because from birth till death, I don't think we have stopped thinking. Even as an infant, I'm sure we were thinking, just that we don't remember what we were thinking. Okay, maybe from a younger age of, let's say, 4 or 5 years old, we remember our life, but then we don't even remember our thoughts deeply. Of course, there are circumstances and instances which leave a deep mark on us, and that's what we remember. But most of the thoughts just go fleeting. So another debate comes in, as in, is every thought actually produced by your mind? In the sense, the so-called thought which comes to you, is it your thought? No, you might say that, it is my thought but has been influenced by someone. For example, I watched a YouTube video or an Instagram reel, and that reel, influenced a certain thought in me. That's still okay. That is still your thought. Maybe there's an influence externally. But I am looking at, can the thought completely not be yours? So in the sense, you are in the physical body, you have a mind inside the physical body, and you are thinking, because thought is not physical. You can't see thought, you can't touch thought. So thought is not at a physical level, obviously. So will it be just bound to your own body then? In the sense, I drank water, it is in my stomach, it is inside my body. It is not going to go out of you unless you pee or maybe you sweat it out, correct? But eventually, even physical things which you're putting into your body are going out. Some way or the other, everything is getting excreted. If physical matter itself can go out of your body, can't mental matter escape the body? So my question is, when you think and the thought is not even physical, is it radiating out? And if it is radiating out of you, is that signal being received by another receiver, which is another physical body and a physical mind? Is it possible? Because think about it, it seems possible, in the sense, because thought is not even physical. So what is restricting the thought to just stay inside of your physical body? Even physical substances which you are putting in your physical body are not remaining inside, they are getting excreted. And it's not like you know exactly how it is getting excreted. You may not be feeling sweaty, but you still are sweating, and before you realize that you are sweating, the sweat is also vaporized into vapor. So the water which you have put into your body through your mouth has already become water vapor, and God knows where it has gone now also. So when physical matter can escape your body without your control, can't mental matter escape, because it is anyway not bound by physics? Correct? Thought does not have a weight or a mass or a volume. So what is thought? Is it radiation? In the sense, are you transmitting thoughts constantly? And if they are escaping your physical body, then is someone catching that signal? And then they also think the same thing. They have received that thought and they are thinking it is their thought. Actually it is not. You have emitted and they have received the signal, and it is not physical matter that thought can be read only by the mind as a thought, not as an action. Your thoughts may not lead to a direct physical action, but then it can lead into a thought in someone else's brain, someone else's mind, because his mind has acted like a receiver, your mind has acted like a transmitter. So can the reverse be possible then? Obviously. In the sense, if mind is both the receiver and transmitter, and thoughts anyway do not fall under physical objects, they do not conform to physical laws. If someone else is transmitting a thought, are we picking it up? So when we are looking at 72,000 thoughts a day, is it possible that 20, 30, 50% of them are not even mine? We are just picking up from somewhere? Possible, quite possible. Think about it. And next question comes is, can we go beyond this? In the sense, is there a switch which I can turn off and I stop thinking? I think one thing that comes to everyone's mind at this point is, I'm not thinking when I'm asleep, because that is the switch off. When I turn off that switch, whether voluntarily or involuntarily, you fall asleep, willingly, unwillingly, you are in sleep. When you are in sleep, are you still thinking? The answer to this is hidden in your dreams. The fact that you are able to dream in sleep and you remember those dreams, which means your mind is constantly at work. And dreams are so clear sometimes, the visuals are so clear, some dreams are so crystal clear and vivid, we remember each detail of the dream for many years, which means mind was at work. Because any dream you are remembering, it basically means that your mind has captured it. Doesn't matter how the dream took shape in the first place. That's a different subject. Is dream itself a thought? Right? I'm sure it is a form of thought, correct? Or sometimes dreams are more vivid than thoughts. They feel real sometimes. They feel like an experience rather than a thought. But even that experience is being experienced by the mind. So the mind is constantly at work even in your sleep. Sometimes you might say, no, I get dreams only in the early mornings. So maybe the last 5 minutes of my sleep is when I dreamt. The rest of the whole night I was asleep. Was my mind switched off then? Possible. Maybe out of a sleep which lasted for 6 hours or 7 hours, maybe you had 1 or 2 hours of very deep sleep where your mind was actually turned off. Possible. But you did not do it voluntarily. You do not know how to turn that switch on. If you knew how to turn off your mind or turn on your mind whenever you want to, then you should be able to do it while you are awake as well. You're saying, no, the mind is getting turned off maybe for an hour during deep sleep. If you know how to do it, why don't you do it when you are awake? You don't know how to do it. The question is it possible to do it? You don't know is a different question, but can someone do it? Is it even possible to turn off your mind while you are still awake? The next question is, how does that feel? Because the very deep sleep, we don't even know how it feels, correct? In very deep sleep, we don't even know how it felt. All we remember is that we slept peacefully. It was a sound sleep. What was your mind doing when you were in deep sleep? Actually, you turned off the mind, or the mind turned itself off in that 1 hour of extremely deep sleep out of your 7 hours of night sleep. But what was the mind doing? The mind was turned off. Since the mind was turned off, you don't remember anything what happened. All you remember after you wake up is that you slept and woke up and it was a very sound sleep. It was not disturbing sleep. Okay, you were not disturbed during your sleep. So the question is, how does it feel if you can do this while you are still awake? I think if you are able to do this, how to do it is a different question. But assume there's a possibility of doing this while we are still awake. I think that experience is beyond experience, because there is no mind to experience the experience. Is it not? Because all experience is mental. It is a feeling which is all a mind game. When you are thoughtless while awake, so another question comes is, if I turn that switch off, by default will I fall asleep? Like, will I fall dead? Like, I am back into sleep. In sleep, the mind turns itself off by itself. But while I am awake, if I turn that switch off, will my body just collapse and fall asleep? Will I no more exist? In the sense, who? Because that's what is happening in sleep. In sleep, the mind is turned off. Does that mean every time the mind is turned off, will I be asleep? Can't say. It's a possibility. But then I think the difference is, while you are awake, if you can turn off your mind and there is no thoughts, that state in which you are, and you are not even asleep, you are awake and turned off your mind consciously, I think that state is beyond experience, because there is no mind to experience that state. I think that state is what exactly people call as bliss. Of course, the word bliss is being so royally abused nowadays. Even chocolates are bliss, pizza is bliss, everything, physical pleasures are bliss. I don't think these are bliss. Of course, nowadays English, the word love has been so commonly used that love has lost its meaning. There are some other abusive words in English which have become so common lingo, they will lose their relevance, the true essence. Similarly, the word bliss, I think, has already lost its true essence. The bliss which people describe is not even blissful. If you truly want to know what is bliss, I think that's the only way to know it. Turn off the mind while you are still awake. The concept may sound crazy, and some people might even question, sir, why do I really want to do this? I'm happy. That is the difference. You are happy but not blissful. Correct? Happiness is again a sentiment. Okay, it's again an emotion. It's again a mind game. Correct? Something that makes you happy might not make the other person happy. So it is very subjective. It is something like, I like butterscotch ice cream a lot. I know people who hate it or who don't prefer it, who probably love vanilla ice cream better than butterscotch. So the same thing which gives happiness to me is not giving happiness to someone else. Which again brings us to the point that happiness is so subjective. Probably you would have even seen these cases where you were happy about something in the past, the same thing does not give you happiness now. A classic case is achievements. You achieved something when you were younger. At that point when you achieved it, it made you very happy and it made you proud of yourself. It made you feel successful. You are still the same guy. Even after 10 years after that achievement, you are still the same guy who has achieved that 10 years ago. Why can't you just stay happy even now thinking about that achievement? You are still that same guy who has passed that exam, passed that test, or earned a lot of money, earned a lot of accolades, success. You are still the same guy. 10 years ago, you achieved that. That gave you a lot of happiness. Why didn't that happiness stay on? It didn't stay on, right? You probably graduated, you passed out from school. When you passed, it made you very happy. When you cleared an exam, it made you very happy. You got your first job, you earned a lot of money. That moment gave you a lot of happiness. The question is, why don't you just constantly stay in that happiness only, thinking that, 10 years back I achieved that, 10 years back I achieved that. Just keep being happy with that, na? No. That is the difference between happiness and bliss. Happiness is fleeting. Things which make us happy also don't make sure that that happiness lasts forever. That's because happiness is a component of mind. Similarly, as a child or as a teenager, what things or foods or colors you appreciated or fashion you appreciated or wanted for yourself are not the same things which you appreciate anymore. Many tastes have changed, preferences have changed, because again all this is mental. It is related to the mind. So when mind itself is fleeting and constantly changing, how can you expect it to be in bliss? Because bliss is a permanent state of ecstasy, correct? Obviously none of us have experienced it, because it's not it's not possible to experience it, because experience, again, it's a mind component. So obviously when the mind is turned off, that bliss is beyond experience. And if someone has experienced that, we should not even use the word experienced. If someone was in that bliss, I don't think he would even be able to narrate how it is to someone who has never seen or witnessed bliss. Is it not? It is something like explaining what a cell phone is to someone in the early 1900s. Okay, 1910 or 1920, where the whole world was still waging wars and economic depressions, almost zero technology compared to what we have today. Try traveling back in time, and without taking a cell phone and a charger with you, try explaining them that in 2023 there's something called an iPhone, there's something called Android, there's a glass screen and pictures come on it, we can see people, we can talk to people, we can write things. They won't understand what you're talking about. Is it not? Because they have not yet come to 2023. They are still in 1923. They have to evolve 100 years more to even understand this. Is it not? So you cannot explain, even if you yourself felt blissful, you will never be able to narrate what it felt like, because first of all, it's not a feeling. It is not an experience. It just is. It is just the existence. Correct? It just is. It is the being. Correct? Just being. Not doing, not thinking, not thinking, not loving, not loving. It is that nothingness, and nothingness is very difficult to explain. And you cannot put it in words. And even if you try doing that, no one's going to understand you, and probably people will judge you as you are mad. But I don't think most of us have to worry, because we ourselves have not seen that bliss. But how about trying it? How about actually trying it? Trying to experience that bliss. And it's just an exploration. There's nothing to do with religion, or there's nothing to do with God. Primarily, it's to do with your mind. Correct? How about turning it off while you are awake? So next question is, how do we do this? I don't know many ways of doing it, but I know one way of doing it, and I know using this way, some people experience that bliss. They were in that blissful state. And sometimes when they come out of that state also, they were in that state. In the sense, they have turned off, felt the bliss, turned on again, but the bliss lingered on, it slowly faded away. They again craved for it, and again went back. And they did it so often, and with practice, they sometimes are permanently in bliss. The only way which I came across, there may be 100 other ways to experience this, I don't know. I don't know if it's clinically possible to do that, I don't know. Can there be any drugs or medicines which can turn the mind off? I don't know, because there are so many substances which people abuse in the market. They don't turn off the mind, right? They don't turn off the mind. Instead, they agitate it, or they slow it down, they pace it up, things like that. They are not turning off the mind. I don't think any external interference can do this for you. So what is the way which I came across is meditation, which I have also lately started. Did I experience that bliss? Frankly, no, I did not. But I've had some experiences. Experience again basically means it's the mental component only. Is it the truth? We don't know, because mind is a master at making illusions. We really don't know if that's the truth. But the experience was good, or I can say happy. Correct? I will not use the word bliss, because bliss is that ultimate turning off of the mind and just being. I have not reached there. Okay, but I've tried meditation, and it can take you to some experiences, but nothing bad. Good experiences, calm experiences, soothing experiences, happy experiences, and probably with continual practice, it may lead you to bliss. Of course, everything takes time and practice. Nothing comes immediately. Everything has to be worked out for. So I think, why not try it? Because when was the last time you sat down and even tried doing something like this, that you wanted to turn off the mind? Maybe never. Did you try meditation? Well, there are hundreds of ways of meditating also, but what I would suggest is, find someone who's already done it for long. Find a master. I don't mean a religious master or anything. A master is basically someone who has done that. Could be a friend, could be someone in the family, or anyone. Someone who has done it, okay, and probably touched, experienced that bliss, or if you are very lucky, someone who's always in that bliss. Extremely rare to find such gems, but at least someone who has touched and done that, did that, I mean, been there. So I feel it's always better to find someone who has done it so that they can guide you. Because if you don't know anyone who has done it and you by yourself watch some couple of YouTube videos and just sit down, close your eyes, and you don't know what to do. And the first thing what happens, the minute you close your eyes, your mind is bombarded with thoughts. Remember that 72,000? All of them start coming together. Every kind of thought, just try closing your eyes and think of not to think. Hundreds of thoughts will come at one shot, and your mind is constantly thinking and then worrying that I wanted not to think and I'm now thinking about not thinking and thinking about so many other things as well. That is exactly what happens. So there's no harm in trying out yourself. It is not lethal. No harm will come to you. But I think you need a proper guide for everything. Why do we go to schools? Why do we go to colleges? Or why do we learn things from anyone? Because someone who has done that, someone who knows better than us, can guide us. Simple. This is where a master or a guru, someone has to come into your life. Or you go to them if you know someone. I'm sure someone must be there. So, why? Because that bliss probably is, indescribable. But once you touch it, probably you will be transformed. Correct? You may not be the same person anymore once you touch and come back. Why don't you try it? Find someone who has done it. Take some tips, take some guidance of what they do, what their journey was like. Did they ever get into that complete mind turn off, switch off stage? Or are they somewhere in the process where the switch is neither on or off? Or at least could they get that 72,000 down to 7,000 or 50,000? And how does that feel? In the sense, will we become more productive? Will we become less productive? Will we become lazy? Will we become hyperactive? Or will we become more saintly or more mature, more sorted? But there's no harm coming out of it. So try it out. Try this. If not, ponder upon it at least. Next time when you're thinking, I'm sure while listening to this also you are thinking, try not to think or analyze that thought at the bud. Go to the bud, where does this thought come from? Or more importantly, who is thinking this thought? Whose thought is this? Today somehow I wanted to speak on these lines. Anyway, more discussions to come, more topics to be discussed. There's a lot to share. I would love you guys to, comment and, let me know your views, your experiences. These subjects are all, not very commonly discussed. Not sure if these are of everyone's interest, especially the world being so material. A lot of these things might sound to a lot of people like crazy or meaningless. I don't know, but these are certain questions, because today we live in a life of material abundance. Even if you are poor, there are a lot of things which you have. And since you are not, maybe there are people who are not even getting 3 meals a day or a meal a day. There are people, but most of you who are listening to this video or this podcast, I'm sure are decently doing in your life financially, or maybe you might have your problems, but basics are taken care of. The fact that you have a cell phone and you're watching this or hearing this, basics are taken care of, and basics will always be taken care of. Don't worry. God has his plans. Everything will be taken care of. But explore your mind, because more than the body, the identity, of course we identify ourselves as the body, but even this identity is a thought, and mind is the culprit. So try exploring your mind and try to search for that turn off button next time.